Hello, everyone. This is Dana Beckers from Parent and Family Programs. We are so very excited that you have joined us today to learn more about Bama Bound that your student is going to be participating in this summer. We have a lot of things that we are going to tell you about and things that you can talk to your student about. I'm going to also introduce Liz Vigil. She is the Associate Director of Orientation and Special Programs. She's going to be presenting the information that has to do with more of the student side of Bama Bound, and I am going to present the information about the parent side of Bama Bound. Liz, you want to say hi real quick?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Dana, for inviting me to discuss orientation with families. We're excited to share this information.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. So here's a little bit of an overview of what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about terms to know, because there's a lot of things that we say here at Alabama, and we want to make sure that you know all of these terms. We're going to talk about new student Bama Bound orientation, what to know, what to do, and what to bring. Well, and we're going to talk about that very important piece of advising and general expectations. We'll talk about parent and family orientation and all of the details that go around with parent and family orientation. What, when, who, where, and why. How do I register to attend, and how much does it cost? What topics are we going to cover, and what is that schedule? And just extra things to know for Bama Bound. So here's a little bit about the terms to know. MyBama. You and your student are going to hear this all the time. MyBama is the portal for students to get into that is off of the University of Alabama website. The student gets to it from ua.edu. This is the portal for everything. We're going to talk about that a lot today. Orientation registration system. This is the system where the student registers for Bama Bound. It is also the system where they will register the parents and families and guests for orientation. Crimson email, this is your student's email account that they will access through MyBama, and it's going to be very important that your student is checking this Crimson email all the time. DegreeWorks is also in MyBama, and this is the area where students will be able to see their academic progress starting now through the time that they graduate. We'll talk a little bit about that later. Crimson Connection. Crimson Connection is our parent and family e-newsletter, and if you are not already getting the Crimson Connection, you will be getting it very soon. Okay, so we're going to now start with Liz, and Liz is going to go into the student side of Bama Bound information and how you can help prepare your student for Bama Bound.
Great. So let's talk Bama Bound. So Bama Bound is our student orientation program. So first thing that I want to start off with is if you still need to register or your student still needs to register, our number one thing that we want to point you to is MyBama. Like Dana mentioned, this is something to get familiar with. The website is mybama.ua.edu. A student's going to go ahead and log in with their information. Registration for their Bama Bound session will be found on the left-hand side. You'll see that yellow box under the MyBama section. On that left-hand section of links, and admissions and scholarships is where they're going to want to click. Once they've clicked on that, in the center section under undergraduate admissions, there are 3 different sections that are going to be really important for students. The first one under undergraduate admission, this is where students can change their application major. If they're not satisfied with what they were admitted under, what they applied under, that is where they're going to change their application major prior to Bama Bound. And so this is going to be prior to registration for their courses. Underneath that, for admitted freshmen, our next step, so after they have been officially admitted to the university, there are a few steps that they need to take prior to being able to register for orientation. The first is to submit their freshman enrollment deposit. Then they're going to submit either their freshman housing application or an application for exemption from housing. Both of those first steps need to be completely processed and in the system before they're going to be able to register for orientation. So that is going to be step 3. Once they log into the orientation registration system, they will see all dates that are available to them. The dates that show up are going to be the only dates that students are able to register for. Each student's portal is set up to completely match their admission type, their degree plan, and their program. And so that is the place where they're going to be able to find those dates. And then for our transfer students, under admitted transfer next steps, the first option for them is going to be orientation registration, and they're going to go right to that, and same thing, be able to see the dates that they are eligible to register for. So what to know before orientation? Whether you are coming for one of our 1-day sessions or our 2-day sessions, there are some things we want to make sure that you know or your student knows coming in. We are going to recommend that they know their MyBama login by memory, or at the very least have it somewhere ready to go. There are several things that they are going to need this for. So setting up their mobile action card ID, we recommend that they do this prior to attending Bama Bound. They're going to want to follow the steps to submit their photo online, to get it approved by our action card office, and set it up. If your student does have a mobile device that does not meet the qualifications for the mobile action card, they can reach out to the action card office and set up a time to make sure that they can get a physical card during their orientation program. They're also going to need this to register for their classes during Bama Bound. So registration for classes only happens during a student's Bama Bound session, and they will need to log into MyBama to do this. The next one is registering for football tickets. We know that is a lot of students' big priority. In order to register for football tickets, not only do they need to know their MyBama login, but they also need to be registered for orientation. So this link to register for football tickets does come out in June. And so students need to make sure that they are registered for orientation prior to that if they want the first shot at it. And then the next one is going to be buying parking permits. So students will be sent an email about when they can buy parking permits. They have to have been registered for classes at orientation in order to buy their parking permit. They usually send out those emails a little later in the summer, usually about June. The next thing is going to be their campus-wide identification number. Here on campus, students are going to hear it called CWID. We will ask them for that everywhere. What's your CWID? And so they need to make sure they know it or have it written down. Next thing I'm going to make sure that I recommend is whether or not their major is right for them. So Dana did mention degree works, and that is a great thing for them to go in and kind of take a look around at what classes they're going to be required to take. They may have signed up for a major because they feel like it's giving them a really great career pathway, but when they actually look at the courses that they require, they might realize that that's absolutely not what they wanted. And so we recommend that students with their family members kind of sit down and really digest a little bit what these next 4 years or 2 years are going to look like. So look at career pathways. There's some great resources on our Career Center website that students can already access now. They're going to look through the academic catalog and really see what the breakdown of each degree is. Also within that academic catalog, they'll be able to find information about how their AP credits, IB credits, or dual enrollment credits might really kind of match up and transfer over to some of the courses that exist within their degree plan. And so all of those things can be found in our undergraduate catalog or degree works. The next thing to know is that if students are planning to stay overnight on campus, and so accommodations are going to be available for our sessions that run from May through July. If they're deciding to stay overnight, which one night is included in their orientation fee, and they're able to add additional nights for an additional fee, but it is really a room with a bed and a bathroom that is available to them. It is a private room, but they're going to need to bring toiletries, linens for twin XL, or I recommend bringing a sleeping bag, especially if you're going to be flying and it is limited availability to check things. A sleeping bag is your best bet because it is both your sheets and your blanket. Pillows, towels, and anything else that they might bring on a camping trip or to stay in a hotel, because again, it is just a bed, a room, and a bathroom. Any students who register to stay in housing and also have family or parents that register to stay in housing, including siblings, they will not be staying in the same suite or room. So please be aware of that when you are registering for housing. They stay in two different residence halls, actually. Final thing I want everybody to know is that event information emails are sent from 5 to 10 days prior to orientation. And so that's going to be the final email that has a tentative schedule, that has information about parking and anything else. You can expect additional communication from us in between your confirmation email for registration and that final email. And that'll depend kind of on when your orientation session is going to be. So some things to do before orientation to kind of get yourself set up, or some things to recommend that your student does, is to get familiar with MyBama. When they get into their advising sessions or when they're talking with our current student leaders who are our Avanti team, they're going to be talking about MyBama, directing them to different links, asking them to do things. And so spending some time clicking around, trying out the different links, seeing what things are available to them under the student section, under Blackboard, under DegreeWorks, like I said, or anything else. It's just a great experience to kind of get themselves in the mode of what it means to be a student that uses MyBama. Next practice is to check that Crimson email account at least 1 week prior to Bama Bound and every day after that before the start of the semester. This is going to be because they're going to start getting a lot of communication, as they already are at this point. Depending on if your student might be military or veteran affiliated, if your student's part of the honors college, their college might reach out to them, and we want to make sure that they don't miss that timely messaging. And so if they need to add the Outlook app to their phone and log in, we definitely recommend that so that they can get that communication as soon as possible. So students have something called an orientation portal that is different from the orientation registration system, but it does have their new student checklist on there that recommends several of these things that I'm talking about. However, if they've forgotten their login to their admissions portal, which is part of the orientation portal, they can also find this new student checklist on the orientation website, which is orientation.ua.edu. Next thing, again, like I mentioned, submitting your action card photo through the action card website. The link to this is in the orientation checklist. Students do not take photos on site unless they did not submit prior to orientation. Action card is available during orientation to help students out, but if they can get taken care of before, we highly recommend that. Next thing, again, is looking through that degree catalog, DegreeWorks, to see what required academic coursework will be. The number one thing that I recommend to students as far as advising is to go into advising sessions already understanding what classes you might take or what classes are available for you to take, and to have several different options on that. And I'll cover that in a little while when we talk a bit more about advising. Like I said, when I gave you the link earlier, change their major if they're deciding on a different pathway. And then submitting immunization forms through the student tab in MyBama, whether it is immunization forms or requests for exemption, you'll find that information through the Student Health Center and pharmacy. They do not have to do it before orientation. They do have up to the start of classes to complete that. But the earlier you can get things done, the earlier that you can feel complete and enjoy the rest of your summer. And then the last one is going to be to do the math or foreign language assessment, and I will talk about that right now. So math placement exam, some students have already received the email that were registered for orientation that they need to take the math placement exam. This math placement exam is required for all students who are admitted to the university as test optional. Instructions of how to access this are emailed out, so if your student has not received it yet, they will be sent out at least 21 days prior to their orientation session. We recommend that students take this at least 1 week prior to their orientation session. What this does is it places the student, as it says in the name, in the math class that they need to be placed in, right? So their math requirements might be met in another way, whether it's an AP test score that they're waiting for to come in, or an IB course, or dual enrollment, or anything else. So just make sure that you're aware kind of what your student is coming in with, or whether they need to take the math placement exam. I've been asked previously if students should study for this, and I do say that it can't hurt, but it is entirely up to them. Again, what it is doing is placing them in the correct math course for their degree plan. And so more information about that can be found on the math website. Students can follow the link in the email they receive or reach out to the math department for assistance. The next one is going to be the foreign language placement exam. This one is not required, but is recommended for students who have more than 2 high school units of French, German, Spanish, or Latin. This placement is going to help them kind of delve more into what they might need, or place them into a better course that reflects their abilities in these foreign languages. And so information about that, because students don't get emailed about this, can be found on the Modern Languages and Classics website. And so we recommend checking that out if your student has taken more than those 2 high school units. So I just want to go over MyBama again quickly. I showed you the admissions and scholarships tab prior to this, but this one is going to be the students tab. Again, you can find that on the menu on the left side of the quick links and pages. So the student section, under academic and student services, 2 things for you as a parent or family member to know is under academic records and curriculum, where those 2 arrows are. So DegreeWorks is accessible there, as well as on the quick links on that left-hand menu, and then proxy access. So a lot of parents always ask how they can get information or help their students. And so that's going to be the thing that students are going to need to fill out for that. You can also see that record release for FERPA. So FERPA is that law that governs student data. And so be aware of those links, that is where a student's going to be able to find them. That change of major or minor that's above that is going to be after students have registered for courses. So if they're changing their major prior to Bama Bound or prior to registering for courses, they're going to use the one that I showed on the first screenshot. And then this one is going to be for any time there forward. The next section, of course, is going to be Blackboard. If they've never used Blackboard before, that is the platform that we use for most courses, not just online courses. All courses tend to have some sort of online component for students. And so they can visit it and kind of click around and see it. And then again, on that right-hand side, Student Health Center and Pharmacy, that is where students are going to upload their immunizations or find information about exemptions. So what to bring to orientation? I mentioned if they're staying in housing, they're going to need to bring those toiletries and blankets and pillows and sleeping bags. But other things are going to be directions to campus. Our students will start day 1 or their program, if it's just a 1 day, at the student center. And so you're going to want to know where the student center parking deck is. And we send out links and parking information in that final event email. If you're arriving to the university prior to the start of your orientation session, maybe you're staying on campus the night before, you want to know where Ridgecrest South and West residence halls are. Ridgecrest South is where the students are going to stay. Ridgecrest West is where any parents, guests, siblings will stay that are registered for housing. We recommend an umbrella or raincoat. It is very, very humid here in the summer, and it can just randomly rain even when it's started out as a sunny day. So we recommend bringing an umbrella or raincoat. Along with that, we recommend comfortable shoes. We know that students like to make a great first impression, but this program does include a lot of walking across campus. We do provide accommodations for any students that need it for that walking. However, for those that are able to, we recommend very, very comfortable shoes, as well as a water bottle. Like I said, it is humid. If you've never been in humidity, you will feel fine, and then all of a sudden you are extremely dehydrated. And so make sure that you bring along a water bottle. We have several water bottle filling stations for students to make sure that they're staying hydrated. Another thing we recommend is some form of technology, whether it's a laptop or tablet, that might help them review courses. Most of our colleges, if not all, either take students to a computer lab or have access to laptops for them to use to register for courses. However, if you all as a family or the student wants to review the courses that have been recommended to them after their advising session and prior to registration, we recommend that they have some form of technology that's a little bit bigger than a phone because it makes it easier to navigate this. We recommend a light jacket or sweatshirt because while I said it's very hot outside, it can be very cold inside. And so bringing along a light jacket, especially if you're somebody like me that gets cold very, very easily, that's something we recommend. Photo identification, so driver's license, military ID, or anything like that, so that we can verify who a student is and make sure that is the person that should be attending orientation. Next thing is going to be any special admissions documents or unofficial transcripts. So whether that again is going to be your dual enrollment courses that maybe you're just finishing up completing, information about any AP tests that you have taken, even if you don't have the scores yet, or IB information, you're going to want to make sure that you are aware of that or your students aware of that so they can discuss it with their advisor. And then again, those housing needs if they're staying on campus. So like I said, I want to touch on advising a little bit. The only place, again, that students can be advised and register for courses is during their orientation session. So even if a student session is at the end of July or in August, they will not be able to meet with an advisor until those days. We tell students that they will have access to similar courses all summer long. The main thing for students to come into this with a mindset of, and parents and family members, we recommend this to you all as well, is that all class options are good options, right? While students might have an ideal schedule, there are going to be a variety of class delivery formats that include different times, different days, different instruction styles, and we recommend that they try all of those things. Definitely, I would say make sure that students are making their own journey. A lot of people will offer them advice on how they felt about different courses, but we want to make sure that students go into everything with an open mindset of professors, of course options, of delivery styles, because every student's experience is going to be very, very different. During the advising process, students are going to meet with advisors and peer leaders from their colleges, and there will be a mixture of one-on-one time with advisors or peer leaders and then group time. It really depends on their college. Each student is advised in their specific college. During the process, parents, guardians, family members are able to be present for the advising portion, and it depends on the college to what extent they are involved. However, during the registration process, students will be on their own to register. This is a great opportunity for them to kind of exercise this first step into this new phase of adulthood in their life. So make sure that y'all have conversations about advising and what to expect prior to orientation and after that advising session so that students are very well prepared and ready to go when it comes to registration. We know that you all are providing them the foundation So they need to have to be ready and to make these great decisions. One thing to note is that changing a student's major during Bama Bound, it will impact their experience because advisors are preparing for students prior to Bama Bound up to a week prior. And so if another college has prepared for your student and then your student changes to a different college, the advisor will need a little bit more time to get with the student because they haven't been able to fully review everything on the student's information. And so we really recommend having conversations about majors, changing majors prior to Bama Bound. However, don't be afraid. If it happens all the time. Students want to change their major during Bama Bound, and we will help them and do everything we can to make sure that they still have a great experience. Final thing I want to touch on is general expectations for students. You can remind your student, or if they're watching with you now, students, this is for you. They are expected to stay for the entirety of the programming. So for our 2-day sessions, this is the entire day and a half of the programming from start to finish. And then for our 1-day sessions, it is from start of the day to end of the day. Students are going to check themselves in when they arrive to Bama Bound at one set of tables. Family members and parents and guests and siblings will check in at different tables. And so in order for your Bama Bound experience to be well, make sure that students themselves have checked in. Next thing is going to be that this is considered a student's first day of college. We encourage them to make good choices. That includes making sure they're attending everything, making sure that they're making great decisions, taking care of themselves, eating when they're supposed to eat, drinking water, and everything like that. Next thing is going to be that they trust the academic advisors. Academic advisors speak with new and current students every single day to help make recommendations for courses to help guide them. Ultimately, the student is in the driver's seat when it comes to their academic plan, their registration for courses, but advisors are there to do what it says in their name, to advise the students. So please trust that they're doing this with the best information and the best intention of helping students. The next thing is going to be that they make the most of this experience. It can be very, very nerve-wracking to come into a space where maybe you don't know anybody, or maybe you're coming in and attending orientation with a lot of friends or people you know. We're going to recommend that students get to know as many people during their orientation session as possible. There are over 400 other students that will be there with you, and it's a great place to make new friends even before the start of the semester. But we also recommend that they ask all questions. Our staff and anybody that's helping during orientation from all of the campus departments and offices are here to help students. And so making sure that they're asking questions and not feeling embarrassed to not know the answer. As students, we're supposed to know everything. There'd be no reason for them to be here. And so making sure that they just ask everything is the best bet. Again, challenging themselves to make connections. And we also have an information fair called our Capstone Connections Information Fair. We're going to encourage students to talk to at least 4 tables. There are way more than 4 tables, but talking to at least 4 and getting some information will be helpful. And then be prepared to say roll tide. If you don't say it at least 5 times during orientation, we have failed, but I promise you will say it way more than that. Last thing I want to talk about is sibling orientation. Our office does oversee sibling orientation in addition to Bama Bound. This is for siblings or close family members that are entering high school. So they're starting their freshman year of high school, or they're starting their senior year of high school. We do offer an option for them to attend a different program that is separate from parent and family orientation and Bama Bound. So if you would like to register someone for that, students can do that in their registration form. A parent or guardian must be present at check-in to sign a waiver for attendance for the student. So be aware of that. An older sibling cannot sign the waiver. It must be a parent or guardian. But this is an opportunity for them to experience campus, to see a lot of the really great and interesting parts of campus, like our Welcome Center, maybe our digital media center, our engineering cube, and just a great experience and opportunity. So consider this if you have anybody in this age range. But that's it for me, and so I will hand it back over for Dana.
All right, thanks so much, Liz. So now we're going to focus on you, the parents and families, and all these guests that are going to be coming with your student to Bama Bound. So we're going to talk about all the W's, what, when, who, where, why, of all of parent orientation. So parent orientation, what is it? So it's an orientation program specifically designed for parents and family members of undergraduate students. Our program runs concurrently with the new student Bama Bound. So there's some overlap. So there'll be part-time where the parents and family members are with the students, and there's going to be part of the time that they are not with the students, because the students are going to do their own part of orientation. We have two different kinds of sessions. So this is the same for parent and family orientation and for Bama Bound for the students. We have one-day sessions. We have two-day sessions. The one-day sessions are typically for transfer summer or fall start students. So transfer students who may start in the summer or transfer students who may start in the fall. We also have students who are those summer term one start students. So they're going to start summer school right away, and they'll go to that one-day session in May. Then we have the two-day session, which is the majority of our students. And these are the first year, those freshman students who are going to start in the fall. And then summer two term students also will go to the two-day sessions. So that parents go to the same session as their student, whichever one it is that they're registered for. So when orientation details will be sent 7 days prior to orientation. So you can go to our website and go to the orientation tab, and you can see a lot of information now that will give you some information before this 1 week out detailed information email that comes to the parents and family members. So we'll give you some of that ahead of time, but some of the really good details are going to come 7 days prior. Anyone that is welcome to come to parent and family orientation, you're welcome to do that. But anyone that does attend the sessions, you have to register and pay for attendance. We're going to have one-day sessions are all in the Student Center, but our two-day sessions, the first day is in the Student Center. The day two is in the Movie Music Building. So for our freshman two-day sessions, the parents are going to be on their own without the students for day two in the Movie Music Building. So why attend orientation? So orientation is going to give you a lot of information that you may not know. It also is going to tell you the information that your student is learning during Bama Bound, which will help reinforce your student from the things that they learned about during orientation. You're going to have access to lots of campus partners and their presentations. The really great part is you get to visit your student's academic college or school, which is what Liz talked about a little earlier. You'll get to do that on day one. Talk with current students and hear about their experiences at UA. So we'll have a couple of different student panels, and they're going to talk to you about what life is like as a student here at the University of Alabama. Then we're going to connect with parent and family programs. We are here for you. So you're going to get to know us, and then we can tell you the services that you will get from our office. So how do I register? If you're a parent, family member, guardian, guest of any sort, your student can register you in MyBama. So that where it says number one on the left-hand side, student registers their parent, family member at the same time the student registers themselves for Bama Bound. This is mostly what people do. But there's times where a student is registering for themselves and they're not sure if a parent may attend or a guest. So they can do it later. If a parent or family member is not registered at the same time as the student, when they're registering themselves, can create a PIN, a login at the time of the student registering. And then that parent will use that guest login and PIN to register themselves later. That's one option. But the second option for registering after the student has already registered is the student can simply go back into MyBama and go and add a guest member in the registration system. So there's two different options, ways to register for MyBama, for parent and family orientation. But keep in mind that all registration fees are non-refundable. So that means let's make sure we know who's going to be attending. If it's grandma and grandpa, they might want to attend, but once the fees are paid, it's not refundable. So how much does it cost? It's $80 per family member to attend for parent and family orientation. So we use that $80 in lots of different ways. So think about going to a conference and all of the things that are associated with running that conference. This is what we use this $80 per person for. We pay our staff, we get their uniforms, we help train them. Any materials that you receive during parent or family orientation, it gets paid from that $80. We have to rent our space in the student center. So the ballroom, the breakout rooms, any times that we are using rooms, facilities, we have to pay for that. And then meals. A portion of your fee will also be used for that parent e-newsletter that we have called Crimson Connection. So you'll be getting Crimson Connection during your whole time that your student is here at Alabama. Parent and family orientation fees are non-refundable. Remember that. And on-site registration for parents and family members is necessary. So students are not allowed to register on-site, but we can register a parent or guest on-site if necessary. We'd rather it all be done ahead of time so that we can make a name tag and have the provided materials ready to go. But if someone decides at the last minute that they want to come, we can do that as well. Families in financial need may apply for a parent and family orientation fee waiver at our website. So we will look at a student's FAFSA information to determine on if we can give a waiver to the parent. But here is where you can do that if you feel like you want to apply for a waiver. Okay, so here's our 2-day sessions and sort of just a little synopsis of what we will be doing. So remember, 2 days are for our first year freshmen, fall start students, and those summer term 2 students. Day 1, there will be lots of sessions. Some of those sessions are with your student. There's going to be financial aid, information on how to pay for tuition and fees, housing. We'll have some involvement information. Our Vonties are our orientation leaders. They'll be talking to the parents about what it's like, life is like as a student at UA, transition to life at UA. Crucial Conversations is a session that I present, and it is directly to parents and how to have conversations with your student before they actually start school. Academic Essentials, coming from the parent and family member perspective. Then you go to that college visit, and we're going to have an optional, this is something new for this year, parent social in the evening. So if you want to go and hang out and visit and meet other parents in a social type of atmosphere, this is something that you don't have to do, but if you want to, we will have a restaurant here in town that you can go and meet other parents. Day 2 is in Moody Music Building, and this is where the parents are not with the students. And we have information. Bama Basics is information on the bookstore and books and parking and how to buy parking decals and action cards. So some of those Bama Basics, we talk about that. Then we're going to have information about student wellness and safety on campus. So I will have information coming from our police, UAPD, and then also from Student Health Services. They will be presenting and then also be on this panel. Then we're going to have next steps, and then we have an optional visit to the Bryant Museum. So you're welcome to visit the Bryant Museum for free while your student is registering for classes, and you can kind of hang out and do that once your student finishes class registration. Our 1-day session, typically for our transfer students that are going to start fall start, and our transfers who start in the fall, and then those first year students who start for that summer for 1 term. Program starts at 8 a.m. and concludes by 5 p.m. So it's a 1-day. And we have a lot of the similar type of sessions that are on that day 1 for our freshmen. So here's a little bit about our UA Crimson Connection. Now remember, this is that email newsletter, that e-newsletter that are going to go to parents and family members all year long, the entirety of the time that you are here, your student is here at Alabama. You can create a profile now if you'd like to at uacampusesp.com, or you can find it on our website. We will also put you in it after orientation is over. So, you can start getting newsletters now, or you will start getting them for sure by the end of the summer. We discourage anyone making flight arrangements and travel arrangements until your student receives that Bama Bound confirmation email. So it's very important that you know when your student is going to be attending Bama Bound before making any of those very expensive arrangements. If your student changes their Bama Bound session, any associated registrations will be changed as well. So if your student changes from one session to a different session, or June session to a July session, the parent and family, the guests will also, you don't have to make changes for that. It's all connected. Once a student is registered, students will receive, and parent will get this copied on this email, a confirmation email of the student registration. So you as a parent or family member will get that registration confirmation as well about your student. If you have any questions or information you need about accessibility, diet-related, interpreter accommodations, please email our website, our email address at parents@ua.edu. You'll get parents and family members will get an additional electronic confirmation packet sent early May for those who are early registered before May. So we'll send you some more information come May. And then that final reminder email will come 7 days prior to your attending Bama Bound. So what to bring? Same things that Liz talked about. Bring a refillable water bottle, walking shoes, because you'll be walking to your student's college visit. It's definitely hot. And I cannot stress this enough. It is really cold inside the student center. So please remember to bring a jacket for inside. Umbrella also for the rain. After orientation, you can access all the information in our UA Crimson Connection e-newsletter, and then you will receive a parent and family orientation evaluation afterward. Here's just a couple of other things to know. Immunizations are very, very important. And Liz talked about that a little while ago, but it's important that you help your student get all of those immunizations turned in prior to they start their first day of class. Because what will happen if there are things that are missing, immunizations that are missing, there will be an academic hold placed on your student's account and they will not be able to register for classes in the spring. So it's important to get those immunizations in, do the TB test, check the TB test, all of that type of thing. Students can also prepare for their advising appointment. This is a website that students can look at that helps them prepare for advising. It's from our Capstone Center for Student Success. It's at success.ua.edu, and then you go to prepare for advising. It's just a good website to get them ready. Also for other students, just knowing there's two different areas that would really be great if this pertains to you to start working on this now. So if your student is going to request an accommodation, it would be good for you and your student to check with our Office of Disability Services at ods.ua.edu to start requesting those accommodations now. And that way you can get the paperwork in and be ready for when your student starts the first day of class. Any accommodations that happen in high school do not automatically transfer to college. So you have to start this process and get it into our Office of Disability Services. Then also registering with Veteran and Military Affairs. So if there is any student that is a military person or a dependent of a military person, you are going to want to go and check out the website for our Veteran and Military Affairs and go to that Who We Serve tab, and that can help you get ready. And if there's anything that you need to do prior to Bama Bound or prior to the first day of school, this will give you time to do that. Parents and students can visit the parent and family website to view the orientation checklist. So we also have a checklist for parents. So it's going to be parents.ua.edu and then go to orientation checklist. There are items that you can do before and after orientation. So please be sure to check that. And then lastly, our last slide is our contact information. So the first part is the orientation office. So we are separate. Liz's office handles all of the student side of orientation, and we handle all the parent side of orientation. So here is both of our offices and our contact information, and you're welcome to email us, call us at any time. And we are very much looking forward to having you and your student here for Bama Bound. Please let us know that if there's anything you need to know beforehand, we are excited for you to be here, and roll tide.